Hey guys, it's me, Tommy, and I'm back again with another video. In this video, I'll be showing you how I made this exact wig using a sewing machine. So let's just jump right into it. The sewing machine I'm using is a Singer Esteem number 2, purchased it from Target. My settings are going to be a tension at 5, my width at 5, my length at 4, and then I'm going to be using the zigzag pattern. I'll link below how I found out to use these measurements with the video that I found on YouTube. The thread that I purchased is from Walmart, and I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys how I threaded my bobbin. Now, I am not a big sewing machine person, so I don't know the exact terms for these things. So if I'm not saying it correctly, please forgive me. But my instruction manual told me to take the thread and insert it in the hole of, I believe that's the bobbin. And then I'm gonna put it on that silver piece on the top, and I'm gonna push it into place so that I can go ahead and thread it. I'm holding the thread at the top and I'm pushing the pedal so that it can ravel just a little bit, cut the excess thread off, and then I'm gonna go ahead and continue to push the pedal so that I can have it threaded. Now I'm gonna follow the instructions in the manual, and I'm gonna thread my machine by going through all the different stages that it needs to go through. And then last but not least, I'm going to take that bobbin, which I already had inside the sewing machine, and I'm gonna go ahead and add it in there. But I'm showing you guys exactly how to add that extra piece of thread inside your sewing machine so that it can thread on the top and the bottom, making sure that that piece of thread locks into place, and then placing that bobbin holder back inside the sewing machine. Now, once you snap it into place, the next step is to take the thread on the top, pull the dial towards you until it picks up the thread, and then you can use the top thread to pull out the bottom thread. I use my scissors to pull it out a little bit, and I'm ready to go. So now that my sewing machine is ready, I'm gonna go ahead and use my deluxe weaving cap. Since this is the first time I'm trying a sewing machine wig, I just decided to use this cap instead of using a spandex dome cap. I feel like it'll be a little bit easier for me to manage. I'm gonna go ahead and pin it down onto my mannequin head, which I purchased from Amazon. And after tacking it down, next I'm gonna sew my closure on. I'm gonna be using my Allure Deluxe Body Wave closure in 16 inches. And when you're doing a sewing wig, or even if you're making your wig with a handmade wig, if you want that natural look, always place your closure a little bit ahead of your weaving cap or your spandex dome cap so that it can blend seamlessly when you're doing the melt method. I'm gonna go ahead and sew down my closure, just speed it up a little bit so you guys can see. I start on one end and then I use a thread, and I start on the other end and then I meet in the middle. So that's how I do my closures. I will link below a more detailed process on how I make my wigs. And now I'm just gonna use a silver Sharpie to make my lines on where I want my bundles to be. I'm just eyeballing it, and this is the finished results on where I want my bundles to line up. Again, found this method on YouTube. I will link it below on where I found the method from, because I give credit. So I'm gonna be using actually 2.5 bundles. Again, this is my Allure Deluxe Body Wave, and I'm going to unravel the first bundle, and now it's time for the fun start. So the bottom track, I'm gonna line it with that first line that I created. Now, oh my gosh, guys, this took me so long to do, but I know practice makes perfect. So you guys will see my mistakes in here. Now, I'm kind of familiar with how to use a sewing machine. I know you're supposed to use the reverse to go back and forth when you're starting your tracks. So that's what I'm doing here so that I can tack down my ends. And then slowly but surely, I'm just gonna press the pedal so that the track can go right across the line. So I would say the tip is, especially if you're using the Sharpie method, is to definitely try your best, because it gets harder as you get up, to line your bundles with the line that you made. Now, the consensus on YouTube when seeing other people make wigs is that it's really hard to do the fold over method. So that's why you constantly press that reverse lever so that you can tack the ends down, because you're going to go ahead and cut the tracks. And supposedly this is supposed to help with shedding. So once you're done with your track, you're going to lift your lever up. You're going to pull your track away from your machine. You're going to cut the thread, and you're good to go. So I was highly impressed with my first track. I'm like, this looks pretty good. So I'm just showing you guys how that first track came out. I think I did a pretty good job, but like I said, it starts to get really bad. Once I start going up, I'm gonna cut that track and now on to the next layer. Now this layer was a little hard because you have that that elastic piece that's there, plus that metal piece. You don't want to sew on that because obviously your needle can't go through that metal piece. So what I decided to do is to not stitch there, is to stitch like before that area, which was really hard to try to line it up with the lever. Like this, I believe, was like the hardest part of doing this wig, is trying to get that piece underneath and sewing it and lining it up. Oh my goodness, it took me like 4 or 5 tries, but obviously with the magic of editing, you don't see that. So now that I have my lever down, I want to make sure that that bundle is lined up with that second layer that I made with my Sharpie, and then I'm going to go ahead and start sewing it down. Again, I'm going to reverse it. You should always use the reverse lever just to tack it down. That way your bundles stay intact. And now I'm just making sure that I line up my bundle with the line that I created, and then I'm just going to sew along. Now I didn't finish the bundle all the way to the end because remember that elastic band is there, and you want to keep that so that you can make sure that your cap fits almost perfect. So you don't want to sew on the elastic band, so I made sure that I stopped before I hit the elastic band. Now when I cut my wefts off, you're going to see that I'm going to cut the part that's not tacked down. I'm just going to hand sew that just so that it's a little bit more I can't think of the word, but I'm just gonna go ahead and just sew that part. So as you can see right here, it was a total fail. I didn't even get to the ends, but on this side I was able to stop in time before I hit that metal, and I'm just going to cut that weft off, and now you can see I'm already off my lines. Like guys, this takes a lot of practice. So I'm just gonna go ahead and just continue with my method, trying not to sew in the elastic band. And this is the number one problem that I got into, is that my thread got raveled up to the point where I couldn't move my sewing machine anymore. So when that happens to you, basically what you do is you just take apart the bottom portion, pull out all the pieces, and then you're able to take that thread that got stuck in the sewing machine. You basically assemble it together, and then you're good to go. I would advise looking at the manual just to figure out how to take it apart and put it back together. But just be aware that sometimes your needle does get stuck and the thread does get stuck in the sewing machine. So that's just the best method to get it unloosened. Now I'm on to the flaps area. So I'm gonna go ahead and go back and forth on the flaps area, making sure that it's nice and tacked. And then I'm gonna go ahead and continue to sew across the line. Eventually, I was not doing well with the line. I don't know where I went wrong when it came to doing this line. So my lines were a little bit off. I did have some bulky pieces when I finished my wig. So I'm just gonna personally find a different method on making sure that my bundles are lined up with the lines that I created, because the lines are your guide, but I just don't know, like just trying to line everything up with what I did with the Sharpie was just really hard. As you start moving up with the bundles, you have to make sure that the cap is stretched out. It was just really frustrating. Personally, I think I did a decent job on my first try. You would have never noticed that I had any issues with it. You guys are going to see this is just the middle portion of the wig where the wefts are a little bit shorter. I'm just tacking it down so that it's overlapping on the bundles, and I'm gonna cut it off. But I really was not sewing on the lines anymore. Like I gave up. Like this legit took me 3 hours when it's supposed to take like 30 minutes. But it was my first time giving it a shot. And then this is just me doing my last bundle, making sure that I tack it on. So yeah, that's how that looks. Again, using the reverse lever, making sure that's tacked on. So that's what the last bundle looks like, which it looks like I did a pretty good job. I'm going to show you the inside of the wig. Looks pretty decent, but when I put it on, baby, it was a different story. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut off that excess piece so that my closure can blend perfectly, making sure that all the pieces is cut off. And this is what the wig looks like. Yes, I know it looks decent, but I am a perfectionist and I want to make sure that if I'm doing this for clients, it's well. Here's an example. You see that I was totally off with my lines. I had a huge gap in the end, so I had to put the wig back on the sewing machine and fill in that gap because I don't need the wind to blow and you just see my whole wig cap showing. So once I'm done with filling in my gaps, I'm gonna go ahead and pluck my closure. I'm gonna treat it like it's a frontal. Now my closure is nice and plucked, and I have a tip for you guys. If you want your lace to cut perfectly, buy some zigzag scissors. I think I got this idea from ErickaJ. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna cut the excess lace off my closure, and I swear you guys, you don't have to worry about going up and down because it already has the jagged edges and it's going to be so seamless. So that's basically it, guys. That's my first time trying to make a wig. Please stay tuned for my next video where I'll be showing you guys how I installed this unit. The installation process was very seamless for me. I know you guys will enjoy it. It'll be much of a shorter video, but I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.